Oh, hey, you guessed it. I'm covering Heartstopper from Netflix, the hit TV series about Nick and Charlie, Elle and Tao, Tara and Darcy, Isaac, and other lovable, loving characters. In this clip, we see Elle ordering a Hawaiian pizza for Tao, and that's what we're going to be making today after our usual time for joy.
I'll go order our pizzas. Do you want Hawaiian?
Oh, yeah, thanks.
Oh, hi, good afternoon. And we're coming to you from 270 square feet. They have served some interesting stuff. I'm having black sesame latte, and it's rather yummy. But today's time for joy. I thought, since it's a hot topic, let's do something from Heartstopper. And we're going to do vulnerability and authenticity in communications. Basically, the level of authenticity between Joe and Nick. These teenagers are so young. They're supposed to be 16 or 17, but they are some of the most real in terms of how they talk about their feelings. I haven't seen, in my own experience, I was never this real until I got to be a lot older and I learned that vulnerability was really a superpower. Being real is hard. Being real is hard, and opening your feelings is hard. But that fear that you have about being real actually just exists in your own head. Once you get over it and you start talking about your true feelings, that fear just diminishes, and you find you actually create a lot stronger relationships because of that. In particular, I'd like to draw your attention to season 1, which, by the way, spoiler alert warning, so I'm going to give you a breath before I continue. Turn away if you don't want to know anything about season 1. But there was one episode in season 1 where Nick and Joe basically found out they had feelings for each other, and Nick actually was discovering that he was bisexual. He had always thought he was straight. So he and Joe kissed, and they obviously Nick, being so confused, ran off and only came back to Joe the next day drenched, went up to Joe's room and sat down on his bed and told Joe, "I'm having a proper gay crisis."
I'm having a proper full-on gay crisis. I've just been so confused.
That was one episode, and that's really quite a lot to open up about. In season 2, no spoilers here, but in the final episode, Joe talks about his feelings which have led to some of his mental health issues, and how Nick responds, both of them. It was practically a masterclass in how to open up to each other and how their relationship got even stronger from that point. It's like, it is absolutely hard to talk about how you really feel. Most of the time, we try and presume or assume to know what the other person feels and tell the other person. And that's a bit of gaslighting, to be honest. But having said that, we've never been encouraged to open up about our true feelings. I'm also having a look at my notes. In any case, this is an example of perhaps where a little authenticity and vulnerability could help. A friend was telling me about another person who actually liked him, and I guess you could say that they were hitting him, and he thought that they were being a bit aggressive. and he was feeling awkward and uncomfortable, but didn't want to tell the other person that he was feeling awkward and uncomfortable because he didn't want the other person to feel bad. And he wanted to be friends with this person. So, more on that later. I will come back to how I suggested he respond. On to a story of my own. Basically, I have had the blessing of joining this business forum of super women who actually practice, as a general rule, authenticity and vulnerability, because this was basically a group of entrepreneurs who support other entrepreneurs. It's hard for entrepreneurs to share authentically or vulnerably with their peer group or even with their employees. You can't. You really can't. So sharing experiences with your peer group is really, really, in my opinion, so important. In any case, the basic practice was non-judgment, share deeply, and to keep confidentiality. In other words, you don't tell anyone outside the four walls of what was being shared. And I know I've built friends for life. But on top of that, I also know that I learned how to exercise my realness muscle. So returning to my friend, I suggested to him that he actually tells this person that he feels awkward and uncomfortable and that he wants to be friends, but right now. And we never know where our journey takes us. So he wants to keep the door open to a relationship in the future, if at all that is on the cards. So I said, just tell him that. Tell him that exactly. So you can be friends now, and who knows what can happen in the future. But having said that, being real, being vulnerable, these are superpowers that can supercharge a friendship, a relationship with a parent, with your loved one, or even with just friends. I am, are my mics on? I am taking out my no-knead bread. And I'm just going to because it hasn't been stretched out or anything, it's really easy to stretch out. And this actually will also align the gluten strand. So you don't need it too stretched out because you've already got it. Hey, oh my God, it looks really good. And if you do it on a parchment like this, it just makes life a lot easier. Now, the other thing I want to do is try and make it even. So don't, but I also want to make a bit of a rim. So, a bit of water if your hand begins to stick. And that's what I did, by the way. Here we go. And we've got our pizza base. Yay! I've cut my pineapple up. You can use fresh pineapples or you can use tinned ones. And I thought I'd try something a little extra. So get some pineapple rings like this. And I'm going to sprinkle on some sugar. I just so happens I don't have brown sugar, but actually, if you have brown sugar, use that. So sprinkle on some sugar, be generous. That little tartness from the pineapple is good because once this happens, we're going to caramelize it in a pan. and then toss it on top of the pizza. So yes, you can imagine the flavor. So this was something I just came up with before I went to sleep last night. And yeah, okay, that should do. Okay, I'm gonna go and heat this pan. So we're gonna heat up the pan first before we put the pineapples on. There we go, and I'm gonna use butter. Okay, fabulous! Yeah, you see how there's a little bit of browning now? Let's chuck this in. Again, don't crowd it, so I'm only putting 4 in there. We'll wait a bit. I think it's good time because it looks like it's caramelizing quite. Woo! It's all going around. Maybe I didn't put it in the center enough, but that's fine. You get the idea. I'm actually cutting up the pineapples into chunks for the Hawaiian pizza, the Heartstopper Hawaiian Pizza. Look, I made it mine because they didn't specify what ingredients in there. Traditionally, a Hawaiian pizza, which was made in Canada, which originated in Canada, actually was made with Canadian bacon. So I don't have Canadian bacon at home. I actually had a little bit of Black Forest ham and normal bacon. I'm gonna use that. Okay, I believe Canadian bacon is kind of like back bacon, so it's not as fatty as these, but it should be fine. Yeah? So, cutting the chunks. I'm gonna cut it like a cake. And yes, if you noticed, I decided to try and caramelize it first to give it extra flavor. Yeah, this one didn't caramelize all that well, but that's fine. I'm making this up as I go along, really. Okay, that's it. Basically, we now put together the pizza. My no-knead bread, spread out on a pizza pan. So let's press this down again around the middle and leave a little bit of a rim. I wet my hands, actually. My oven's set to its max, which is 205 degrees. Okay, a little bit of olive oil. Extra virgin. Especially the sides. I'm doing this because I want it to crisp up a little more, and I know my bread. So I wouldn't worry too much about the center because that's going to be covered with sauce and everything anyway. But the edges, definitely make sure you do that. All right, I need a big spoon. A bit of this. Here, here, here. Okay. Just make sure you don't gouge. You don't want too much. You don't want like tomato soup on there. But you want enough to cover the base like a bit of jam. Think of this as pizza jam. Here, you can use Max's Passata, which I did, or you can also buy some tomato sauce in a bottle and do that if you really couldn't be bothered to do otherwise. So it's all good. I think let's do the pineapple chunks first, because I really want, what do you call that? I really want the ham to be on top. I mean the black stuff. The Black Forest ham and the bacon so that it can cook a little bit more. I don't think this will take very long. I'm doing it in a 250 degrees Celsius oven with a pizza stone, but I'm putting the whole tray in on top of the pizza stone. So let's do this. Ham. This will be more of a thick crust. It's not going to be a thin crust pizza, but the edges should still crust up quite nicely. So I'm going to put it in for about 10 minutes and then have a look at it. All right, now the bacon. Ooh, we forgot cheese. We need cheese. We are going to do this. I'm going to just grease my grater a little bit because it makes life a lot easier afterwards to clean. So afterwards it won't have like smears and all that, or at least less. And I'm using a mixture of mozzarella and of Parmesan. So let's do about, all this is kind of like, in Malaysian they call it agak-agak, which basically translates to estimation, guesstimate.
Oh, measure from the heart.
Yes, measure until the spirits of my ancestors tell me to stop. But basically I'm going to look at like maybe about 80 grams each, because this is about 250, so lovely. So we're going to do two types of cheeses, Parmesan and mozzarella. Mozzarella for the stringiness, Parmesan for the flavor. Ooh, we need to crack on some black pepper as well. At least that's what I imagine a Hawaiian pizza to be. But Nick and Charlie should enjoy this. I know Tao's favorite pizza is the Hawaiian, but I think they all love it. And I know pineapple is a contentious thing for pizza, but hey, who knows? Maybe caramelized pineapple will do it for you, so give it a go. And I hope Kit Connor and Joe Locke and all the cast of Heartstopper love this as well. So there we go. That's about 80. And the trick is really, what I've found is to be balanced with everything. I went through a stage where I put a lot of everything, but it gets to a point where all you taste is one particular ingredient, which is kind of silly. So all you want is a bit of everything. Okay, so this is pre-grated because I couldn't find. I'm going to put a bit more of this because we want that sort of like stringiness. Yeah, there you go. Okay, oh, that's a lot of cheese already. So mix this up. Okay, so lots of cheese still. I mean, you can imagine. Perfect. I think that's a good indication. Everything, you should see a little bit of everything when you finish. Don't have everything covered. So this will be a thick crust pizza. This is not a thin crust by any means, but you know. Okay, so 250. Yep, light's gone off. In it goes. And I'm gonna give it 15 minutes or so, and then we'll check on it. It's right at the top because it's hottest at the top. Heat rises after all. And then we tear up basil leaves onto it, and then we're ready to eat. Oh my God. My glasses. All right, so we're going to like garnish with a little bit of basil because tomato-based pizzas like this, basil's life. So let's just put them all together and then slowly start ripping them in. Now that probably isn't enough, but that's fine. There. Gosh, can you smell that? Don't worry if you bruise the basil. It's what I find is when you tear it like this right at the end, it's fine to bruise it a little bit because then you really get the fragrance of the basil in it. That's not enough. So all these small ones are great because they're already the perfect size. Okay, I think that's enough for now. I can't wait anymore. Right, ready?
Ready.
Okay, we've let it cool down a little bit, so that's why you didn't have melty cheese. But that's a good looking pizza if there's ever was one. So this was no-knead bread. It's not a crispy pizza, but let's try it. Oh my god. Oh my god. The caramelized pineapple was a good idea. So, like, and please subscribe, and hit the notify bell, and give me some comments about what you loved about Heartstopper and their Hawaiian pizza. See you next time on Nigel's Choice. Mm.